noticed one day like 6 Middle Eastern guys walk by across the street, kind of dressed nice, and they would walk around and go over to State Street and eat there, because I seen them eating there when I went to the paint store one day, Redlands Paint. Anyways, we sat around lunch thinking, well, what were them guys doing in this neighborhood? And it went on for like 3 weeks until the project was done. We'd see them every other day leave over here by where they're raiding that apartment.
And that man that we interviewed said he never said anything because he didn't want to be seen as racially profiling.
All right, folks, therein lies the problem. Joining us now is Robert Spencer, Director of Jihad Watch, Vice President of American Freedom Defense Initiative. Welcome back, sir. Good to talk to you.
Always good, Steve. Thank you.
Of course, it's horrific that it's under these circumstances. When you heard of this, and as the facts began to emerge and the name began to emerge, even though the media wouldn't report the name of Syed Farook for a while, did you know right away?
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt whatsoever. Look, the Islamic State, ISIS, declared jihad against the U.S. They have detailed manuals calling for the mass murder of American civilians. This attack followed out their plan, and also the media's fascination with right-wing extremists, so-called. There's no reason. You can understand why a so-called right-wing extremist might want to shoot up an abortion clinic, but a disability center at a Christmas party? No way.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense. And what's more is, I want to focus on this guy for a second here. You know, the fact that he was afraid to say something, and the mixed messages that have come not only from the media but from the top of this administration over the years on you can't profile, you can't make assumptions, you can't say this, you can't say that, and at the same time, well, if you see something, say something. So this guy saw, according to him, very well dressed 6 or 7 Muslim men for weeks at a time, going around that house there and then going to eat and coming back and in and out of the house. But he didn't say anything because he was afraid he'd be labeled a racist.
Absolutely. And see, you know, we've seen this before. In the Fort Dix jihad plot several years ago, there were 6 Muslims who were going to go into Fort Dix and shoot up as many kill as many American soldiers as they could before they themselves were killed. And they were discovered by a young man who worked at a video store.
Right.
They went to take their jihadi videos to be transferred from VHS to DVD.
Right.
And he saw it all and realized it was very alarming. And he went to his boss and said, "Should I call the police, or would that be racist?"
Yeah, crazy.
And, you know, this is what American Islamic advocacy groups have done to us over the years, made us think that resisting jihad terror is tantamount to being racist and bigoted against Muslims. And ordinary people like this fellow down the street in San Bernardino that imbibe this nonsense.
Yeah, and you're talking about a group like CARE, for instance?
CARE, for years, has tried to stigmatize any resistance to jihad terror. They say that it's all racism, bigotry, and Islamophobia. They've resisted every counterterror measure that's ever been proposed or implemented. They tell Muslims not to talk to the FBI, and they try to convince them that any counterterror effort is just an anti-Muslim initiative to stigmatize and demonize Muslims, when actually what they're doing is trying to stigmatize and demonize resistance to jihad.
Right.
And it works, as we see from this guy.
And by the way, you bringing up the Fort Dix 6 is so apropos, because notwithstanding the media's attempt to still classify this as workplace violence, there is absolutely no indication. In fact, the one person who did speak out, according to reports, about the workplace situation of Syed Farook was that he was living the dream. He was living the American dream. He was happy. No indication of problems. And you know what? The Fort Dix 6, pizza delivery guy, taxi driver, nobody had any indication that they were up to no good. And that is a problem.
It is, because it gives the lie to the whole Obama administration narrative that poverty causes terrorism, that these people are driven by their desperate circumstances to commit this kind of mass murder. It's completely ridiculous. And, you know, Syed Farook, he traveled to Pakistan, he traveled to Saudi Arabia, he had this good job. He had no reason to be resentful of anything.
Well, according to the Obama and Hillary and the other Sanders and now Bill Nye the Science Guy, his farm might have not had enough water, so he might have had to have left his farm. That might be the reason he turned to jihad.
Yeah. You know, it's funny how they attempt to convince us that climate change causes terrorism. And they say, look, there was all this drought and famine in Syria, and that's why they joined terror groups. Well, how come there are no Syrian Christian terror groups then? Did the Syrian Christians have different weather?
There you go. That is the perfect response to that nonsense. Robert, great to talk to you, sir. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Robert Spencer, ladies and gentlemen. And he's right about the Muslim advocacy groups and our own government have tried to make it silence good people who want to report things that they've seen because they're afraid. They'll be labeled racist, Islamophobes, and it's very scary. Give Me Five is next. Don't go away.